Yeah, thank you for keeping this day because I couldn't do the 21st either. So
Things
So
always
that was-
change, you know, it's like
Yeah.
the season. Did you get a chance to look through that contract?
no, I looked at the email briefly. And then,
So the only update to this version of the contract from the previous version was there's now a new clause, whereas Farmers Market LLC has requested to use a portion of library property to hold a farmers market for the benefit of the community on mutually agreeable dates during 2025 through 26, 26 through 27, and 27 through 28. So that clause is new. We updated item 2. So it's on each Sunday commencing July 6th and ending October 5th, and on dates as otherwise agreed to. So that gives us the flexibility in the future years to move that range. We updated section 9 to add in terms of the rent payment, $200 a month, July through September of each year of this agreement. For the month of October, farmers market shall pay $50 on or before October 1st of each year of this agreement. And then the final is section 12, just stipulating again that it's for 3 years, and any renewal beyond 2028 must be in the form of a new agreement. I don't think it matters much to us, but this does lock us into the $200 a month rent. So if we're okay with that, then
thank you for letting me say that.
And it's always been $200, right?
as long as I've been here.
Yeah. Okay.
So for at least 1 year.
Is that like a normal price or how did that price get like negotiated or how is that?
That was probably during the initial negotiations for the farmer's market. I don't know that it's like a standard library market, like, oh, the going rate for a parking lot's $200. I think it's just what was reasonable to this vendor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious how,
Yeah.
how that.
No, it was probably a very specific negotiation.
Okay, so I move that we accept the new contract as revised.
A second.
Question.
I'm glad they could do it for 3 years. That's good. That's, it's just like he said, it gives like a long-term, like that they'll be here and it will be an event that people can plan for. And like, doing it year by year, it makes it seem like, oh, it might not be here next year, in uncertain days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to give him, and like we talked about last meeting, I think we were always open to doing it, but, sure, well, we can commit to it.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
I,
Yeah, I saw that.
Ayes have it. All right, so we will present that to the board of trustees next week and we'll get it signed.
Mhm.
Skylight News.
Skylight. So the encouraging news that I've heard from Upper Hudson, I know there was a lot of uncertainty with what's happening at the federal level with IMLS grants, whether or not we would still have money available. According to Upper Hudson, there will still be money available for grants, matching grants for building enhancements. There might be some challenges because IMLS does fund the staff at the state who looks at the grant paperwork. So that's a different kettle of fish. The money should be available for work on buildings. But unfortunately, we are still waiting on the estimate from the architect. We might have talked about this at the last meeting, or I might have mentioned it in email afterwards. But what the architect recommended was because of the way the skylight is built, taking the non-functional louvers off is a good idea anyway. That'll let us be able to actually do work in the future. And once we get the estimate, we can actually know if this is a good idea, but the architect did say like, oh, you should look to replace all the glass at once rather than piecemeal.
Right.
That might be cost prohibitive.
Does the library have to be closed for that?
So I asked the architect and the contractor if we should be closed, and they thought we could be open. Personally, we're working with glass.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
I think if they can do it in a day or half a day, we should close.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Why would they want to risk that? I don't.
They're confident in their work, you know, they think everything's gonna be fine. I'm a pessimist. So I deal
But
with
accidents can always happen if the wind blows one off and it flies and hits a customer walking in the light. Yeah, like, I mean, like, there's all these things that could happen. Like,
Mhm.
she's like.
Very powerful suction cups.
So, yeah, I think when we get to that point, we should look at a temporary closure just for safety.
Okay, okay, so, the grant, who, we have somebody in on the library staff that, does grant writing at this point in time? That would know.
That would be the great Natalie Herto. Natalie, do you want to talk about the grant process at all?
Yes, so because we are a school district library, there's a little bit of an extra step for us. So I'm glad we're talking about this now. In addition to the grant, we have to apply for a SED Office of Facilities Planning Certificate of Project Approval. So we have to have this approval in place before we can go forward with our grant. But the application itself is very simple. Usually the portal opens up around June, and all of the applications go to Upper Hudson Library System, and they have a services committee that kind of reviews all the grants. So the Division of Library Development gets the money for construction grants. They divvy it up to the system, and then at the system, the services committee divvies up all of the library applications and awards based on the level of need.
The application go in, when did you say?
So the portal opens up in June. Upper Hudson likes to have the awards by August, so they can let you know, like, look at all the applications and then divvy up the money that way. I believe to DLD, the absolutely like end date is sometime in October. But to Upper Hudson, it's usually sometime in the summer.
And Natalie, how would the process work if are we being reimbursed or do we have to get the grant before we start the project?
You can do either one. Yeah, they ask you that in the application. Like if you have the funds to do so, they let you write that in the application, and then you just, it's like a checkbox, like, yes, we're looking for reimbursement. We will be, because they ask for a timeline of the project. So, but to that point, the SED form, they like to have that approval, like the office, like as soon as you know you're doing a project, like get your approval in as soon as possible. So if we get like plans, because it has to be like a PDF form that you have to submit. So as soon as we get something from the architect, we need to apply for it.
You applying for that through the school district?
It's let's see. Designated, I have it pulled up here. Submit plans and specifications to the State Education Department's Office of Facilities Planning to review and approval. The OFP certificate of project approval, including any OFP issued building permit, must be included as a PDF attachment. Plans should be submitted to OFP as soon as the project is identified.
Okay.
And there's a
You
phone
submit
number.
that form when you get the architect thing.
Yeah,
When the portal opens, we can submit.
the entire application. Yep.
Do we need to get some type of approval from SED before we can put something in?
Before the final deadline in October, yes. So I think Upper Hudson will be a little bit flexible if we don't get the SED form. But the final submission has to be by October.
That would be for this year's grants.
Coming grants, yes. So it's like the process starts now, and then, the application gets submitted in October, and it's gonna be a little bit off of a timeline just because of the staff at DLD, but usually sometime after that, we hear back from them saying like, yes, you've been awarded and you get this much. And then you get, I believe, 90% of the funding for the project. And then once you close out the project, you get the other 10% in the following year.
Would this grant cover the entire amount? Or would it just be part?
So typically, it's up to 50%.
Yeah, we qualify for 50.
Upper Hudson did say that there might be some wiggle room to get us up to 75% if we're
Yeah.
approved.
Yeah, it depends on how many other libraries are going for grants and basically based on need, because Upper Hudson has their own criteria of how they award. I think they have like 6 or 7 points of priority, like if getting somebody accessibility, like making sure you have library standards, like, wheelchair accessibility, like that's usually a priority. If somebody is, that's the first priority. If somebody has like critical damage because of the storms or hurricanes or something like that, that's usually number 2. And then there's the divvies down a bit more. So it just kind of depends on who applies and what level of priority. So they kind of play with the money that way, but they try to do good by every library so that every library gets something. Whether or not you get fully awarded, the amount you're allowed to it changes every year.
You remember offhand when the last time we were awarded a grant from Upper Hudson was?
It was during the construction, yeah. So I don't know if we went for it like every year, but I think we went for it at least once and it covered something, yeah. Because we just, I think, closed it down like last year.
Right, and we do have enough in reserves to cover big project.
We should, we have enough, I mean, if they come back and they say it's, $10 million, then no, we don't have it. But for work, we have money available. That's why I'm saying we should be prepared to foot the whole bill and then apply for the grants and try to get as much of it back as we can.
Right, because by the time you get your money, it'll be 2026.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we want to take care of this like as soon as we can. So it's, we'll be reimbursed if awarded.
Did the architect give you any hints that, orders of magnitude, is it bigger than a bread box, bigger than a warehouse?
So they do think that it's limited to one end of the skylight and it's related to the glass where it meets the edge. So they were pretty confident that it's a narrow scope for the issue. They don't think it's, spread across the entire skylight. But that said, they were pretty cautious. They didn't want to overpromise, but they were like, until we get the louvers off, we can't say for 100% certain. But we think it's this.
So they replaced the glass, new glass. What other structural stuff do they think they might need to get done? That corner that you're talking about, there's something that need to be done to rebuild that corner?
So what they said, the louvers need to come off. Once they do that, the issue is either it's some portion of the glass, the compression system, or the sealant. So whichever one of those they determine to be the issue would be whatever they have to remedy. But they were pretty narrow in, we're pretty certain it's part of this limited structure. Every one of those pieces has an expiration date, the sealant or the glass.
All right, and we might fall under critical because it's a roof leak, so.
I mean, I think that's pretty critical.
Right.
Damage it could cause.
Exactly. If we
Yeah.
hadn't taken the panels out and it was just leaking in the roof, it would be pounding every storm. Yeah, that was the good thing that we learned in doing the pressure test is that they were like, the higher up the glass they went, the more the leak increased. So that meant there wasn't damage around the base of the skylight, which is great because it means the roof's not damaged. So it could have been much worse.
When are they expecting to get you something from the architect?
So they did not give me an ETA. I'm actually reaching out to them this week to light a fire because now that we have the timeline for the grant funding, we can say like, hey, we have a deadline.
With the architects?
What is his name? what's it, Stephen Rowland?
It was BRM, though, right?
Yes, yep,
Yeah.
with
Rutland,
BR,
Rutland and Mix, yep.
but, yeah, Steve Rowland is there. They're expert in this area. And then, yeah, the contractors who came and did the work was Midstate.
Right. So it's waiting for Midstate. We have a grant opening window, but before that, we need to get the state education department application put in, but we can't do that until Eric tells us what it is we need to do.
Yeah, we need that estimate from the architect on the scope of work.
We're gonna assemble everything, all the information we need, and the education department approval, and get the grant in and the right priority before October. We can hit this thing, and get the funding and work done, simultaneously. If there was a delay beyond the October date, we could still fund this thing out of our own resources, depending on the size of it, and then apply for the grant the next go round, right?
Is that how the reimbursement would work? Is there a timeline on?
We would get the money in 2026.
Got it.
So you get 90% when they award you, which is usually the following year.
Yep.
And then you get the other 10% when you close your grant.
Got it.
We would look though, I mean, we would look with the architect giving their recommendation, we would look to get this work done this year because a week is a week and
Right.
at times it's wasting, so.
Yeah.
We would be looking forward to moving forward with the architect and whatever the recommendation is as soon as possible with the earliest grant funding coming in 2026, if we can hit all the targets that we need to hit, but like not 27, if we can't hit the windows.
Yeah. Would it still be viable in 2027? Could we apply if we?
If we don't get anything, we can apply again.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, no. Okay, the hanging of the wall art, good idea to get a sign off, people on liability and usage and that type of thing. I mentioned Upper Hudson should have something that covers that.
And a couple of our neighbor libraries also had essentially waivers of, just something for people to sign to be like, I absolve the library of the damage, that kind of thing. What we really want is we don't want to, somebody's piece of art falls off the wall and they go, oh, well, that was worth $5,000 to me, pay up. So yeah, that we really just want to have something, but I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel. I think if I can work with some of the examples we've already seen and then get the lawyer to codify them into something that'll substantial, then I think we can roll with it.
So by the next meeting, we might have something on that. That would be your.
Yeah, so for the next facilities meeting, we can definitely have something. The governance committee, it doesn't look like they're gonna meet in May, but if we get them to sign something in their June meeting, if they have to do any policy work.
Yeah.
Because there's two different things. There's any sort of waiver for damage, but then there's also, we might want to look at having a policy of this is the type of art we accept. This is where we'll hang it. And that wouldn't require the lawyer necessarily, but it would require the governance committee to take a look at it.
How happy are they gonna get together?
Probably not. They're pretty full up. It could be something that we either push, we can work without the policy. We can say like, this is the waiver, we're gonna do with your art, like what we, at the library's discretion. And then we,
Now, should we go to the meeting when governance does it? To like discuss it further or?
I don't know that they would require it, but it probably wouldn't hurt to give them that context, you know, to.
Just so if we can be there and describe what we want to do.
Exactly, because otherwise they're gonna give you what they think you need.
Yeah. Yeah, if we're not there, we can't, like,
I don't really know if we know. But once again, copy is the sincerest form of flattery. Who could we copy something like this from?
So I reached out to the Directors Association. I got 5 or 6 different examples. None of them are more than a page. So it's for the waiver. The policy, you know, the governance committee has been erring on the side of shorter and very plain English. So I don't think that'll be too cumbersome to come up with, but I think the waiver is the top priority.
Yeah, but when you think about, say, a policy, I just wonder. No. It's sort of like, part of it like the book display policy, sort of like is my impression on what is this closest to that we sort of might have some collective experience with. And sort of like, what are the issues that are going to be?
So I think the biggest issue that we would run into is people saying, how come you took that person's art but not my art? And I think it's just, we need to have something that we can point to say, you know, these are the criteria under which we solicit art and what we choose to hang. Book display is probably a close analog. Bulletin board might be another similar one. I know the governance committee is looking at our designation and our gift policy. This isn't quite the same thing, but it's related in those areas. But yeah, I don't think it has to be lengthy. It doesn't have to be a long policy.
I'm just trying to think off the top of my head as to what the things be in it. How do you pick and choose? How long do you set it for?
Right. And I think a lot of that would be covered by, it's at the library's discretion. You know, the board designates this as falling under the director's authority. And then
If we want to set a minimum time for, you're going to give it to us, you got to, because we got to go through the concept of display. So we don't want you to give it to us and come back 2 weeks later and say, oh, back. If you're willing to give it, you got to give it for a length of time that, okay, and then when we're done with it, you got to come take it.
yes, absolutely. And we could, so it's similar to our exhibits policy, which does specifically spell out it's a period of 1 month. So I think there is a precedent for us to say a minimum of 3 months, 4 months, whatever we think is reasonable. And then the criteria under which we will accept material for display. And I think also an important thing to spell out, because our exhibit policy does talk about limitations of what we would accept for exhibits. Since this is going to be a little bit different, I think it is just important to spell out a purpose. Like, we're accepting art from the community because we want the library to be more welcoming. We want it to be a community hub. Just the things that separate it from an art exhibit, from a book display. We really need to describe what makes this purpose distinct. And yeah, I think that's what we can clarify that, like, when we're done displaying your art, we don't store it, you have to come pick it up.
I have a lot of updates with the art.
Please.
Can I go in this one?
Well, I shouldn't say, Bill, it's your meeting.
Yeah. Like we have a lot of positive things like that are. So the art director of the Gilderland School District, she had me come to the library when they were doing, the elementary kids were hanging the art. And she had me meet all of the teachers. So the teachers are going to be sending me art to hang in the library from the students. So we're gonna have a steady flow from the elementary teachers. I'm going at the end of April 29th back here. The high school teachers are coming. They're gonna have me meet the high school teachers. I'm gonna talk to them and they're gonna filter study art to me for the library. So we have the elementary and the high school meeting with the teachers. So they're gonna be submitting the art to me. So we'll have steady art to keep replacing in the library. So we're building those relationships with the teachers themselves and they're gonna send the art. So, but she wanted me to meet the teachers and do it that way instead of trying to her to hound them. She's like, why don't you meet them and tell them what you want to do in the library and why you want it and explain it. And I did that and all the teachers were, oh yeah, I want to do it. And they've been trying to do it for years, but they've had trouble like trying to get it in the library. It always fell through. It never happened. So we have the momentum, so I don't want to lose it. So I'm trying to keep it going. So they'll be willing to submit the art.
Awesome.
So that's all. Then we had 3 high school students, they want to do a mural. So they want to paint it on something else and mount it up. They don't want to put it on the, and they took like pictures of Towson Park. They want to do something with Towson Park. So I thought that would be nice. So they're working on that. So we have 3 high school kids working on that. We had that one high school girl submit the jellyfish painting.
Which I've got.
Yeah, which if you put a black light behind it, it lights up, which is incredible. So I thought that would look so cool by the aquarium. So she submitted that. And then switching gears to plants. So I've been in contact with the Gilderland Garden Club. They want to donate indoor plants and they want to take care of them for us.
Really?
So they're going to be donating large amounts of plant, however many you guys want. They said they will come and take care of them.
Really?
So, and they want to come and do like an art or a garden club like class here. So they want to do some programming here. And they said they tried in the past, but it just fell through. So I said, I'll try to help you work with that.
And this was the Gilderland Garden?
Gilderland Garden Club. So I've been in contact with their director and they had a meeting this month in April and they had a ton of people say, oh yeah, we want to donate plants for the library and we'll come in and we'll take care of it. We'll water them. We'll take care of them. They don't have to do it. And I'm like, okay, that was what we wanted. So I was trying to get that. And then Gade Farm is willing to donate a plant. So that's another, they're going to donate a plant. And if the Gilderland Garden Club can't take care of it, I'll take care of it. It's one plant. It's not like I'll water that one if I need to, but they're willing to take care of all the plants they're going to donate. So at first they thought that I wanted it outside. I'm like, no, I don't want it outside. I want it inside to decorate the library. I want to add some greenery to the inside space. And they're like, oh yeah, we can do that. We don't mind coming in and volunteer.
Gate Farm or the?
The garden club said they'll take care of it, but if Gate Farm donates, they want to donate like one plant, and I would be willing to take care of it, and I can ask the garden club, would you take care of that one too? And they might, because they're willing to take care of the other one, so one more plant, they might, I don't think they're gonna be like, no, we're not gonna take care of
They
that.
may not even notice.
Yeah,
Wait,
exactly. So that's good, because it was too expensive, so I just went out to the garden club and to Gate Farm, and I've reached out to Hewitt's and Home Depot too, so I'm waiting to hear if they want to donate anything.
Okay.
So we have a lot of options,
Yeah,
so,
this is awesome.
so we won't have to.
I'm gonna be a stick in the mud. And I'm gonna say with the garden club, we'll need some sort of memorandum of understanding. just
Okay.
To make sure that they know their commitment, what they're committing to.
Okay,
Just as an example, like we don't have a contract with the aquarium folks, so we have a limited amount of control over pricing and whatnot. That's not an issue with this, but I want, if they say verbally, we're willing to come take care of them, I just want them to put pen to paper.
okay. And she said they could do that. They could do some kind of agreement.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I've been pretty busy with trying to,
You have.
when I, like, we get it, though, like, it was too expensive, the greenery, so I'm like, well, I'll try to get it for free, so we don't have to pay for it. And they are kids making the art, that's free, we don't have to pay for it. Because I priced the mural with that company that Elise wanted me to reach out to, And they want like $8,000 for that area, which is too much. So it was crazy. I'm like, let's have kids do it instead, like for free. Then we don't have to, spend all that money. So
No, that's great.
and they want to do the, Bill, you had talked about like the banners over here. They're interested in doing that too. The ones that are doing want to do the mural, they want to do the banners too. So we have multiple goals that we had are being like, we have people that are willing to do it. So
Who wants to do the banners, the high school?
the high school kids that are doing the mural, they want to do that. They said they'd be open to doing a banner too. So,
Yeah, that might
so
be
we just
something-
have lots of options. which
The
is-
mural is,
Yeah.
the space down by the tank, by the fish tank, that space.
Yeah, like over,
For the,
yeah.
and so you also got the quote for the,
I did, yep. So Bachland, who's the company that does our signage, they quoted us 4,300 to do vinyl printing in that space above the fish tank. That doesn't include the design, so we'd have to get a photographer and a graphic designer to do the design. But the printing itself is 4,300. And that would be vinyl, like the vinyl on that wall.
so, it looks like we got two options developing for that space there.
Yeah, and my kids are really into it. They're sending me mock-ups. They're going and taking pictures of how it's done. They're painting stuff. They're totally into it. So like, which is again, we have the momentum. So if they're interested, like I want to get them like, I don't want to lose it. I don't want to like let it lapse and not keep on top of it because then they might say, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. High school kids can be a little fickle
We know
sometimes.
the theme of the mural would be,
They just had that idea. They wanted to do like House in the Park.
like, what, Tower Center Park.
Like they took like different pictures and they were making mock-up paintings of how they would do it. It's a space that was in Guilderland, so they were like, that's why they went to Towson in the Park, so they were.
All right, no, I know, I want something open.
Yeah.
By local, that's a good concept.
Well, and Bill, the design idea you had at the last meeting was because people are looking up when they look at that wall space.
Yeah.
Doing something where it was like the top of trees or the sky, like,
And that's what their pictures were. It was either the sky and like the tops of the trees, or it was the water there. They had some other pictures of the water that's there at Towson Park. So it's just nice. It's a nice nature focused like scene. Yeah. But they're sending me like pictures every day. Here's another mock-up. Here's another. Taking pictures and they're painting and they're like, so they're engaged in it, which is good.
that's great.
Yeah, so they want to.
For the plants, can you loop me into whatever conversation you're having with the garden club?
Yeah,
And that way, because I do want our facilities manager, because this will
Okay.
ultimately be his domain.
okay.
So I just want to make sure he's looped in as well.
Okay.
But this is great progress on that front.
And she said they've been trying to work with the library for years, but they would start something and then it would just be dropped and like nobody would reach back out to them and nothing got so it just wasn't kept on top of it. Like they tried to do it and then they got discouraged and they backed away.
Yeah.
So we don't want them to back away. We want them to come here and do a program. I like how they want to teach a class or do a program here too. That's great. Like across, we want that.
Natalie, have you worked with them at all in your tenure?
Not while I've been here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Maria had done some stuff with them.
Sure.
Are they talking about, any ideas of potted things on top of the shelves or things in the corner or?
That's what they were thinking more of. So just indoor plants, like potted plants that can just add some greenery to the space and they won't be too hard to take care of, but at least we'll have some plants or flowers or something that's more.
And we've got a couple of spots in the building that lend themselves really well.
But like, I feel like you have to be like, when you reach out for stuff like this, you have to be like aggressive. So at first she didn't respond to me. Like,
You're assertive.
yeah, assertive, but she didn't respond to me like by email. So I went on their Facebook page and I messaged them there. And then they responded back to me and they go, wow, you went after us here, Joe. I'll go back to the email and I'll talk to you there. I'm like, okay. But they put us like right on the agenda and they had the meeting this month and, so it just, Yeah, we go on going. They have like 32 members in the garden club or something like that.
I knew it was.
So they have quite a few, and they said they mostly do like outdoor spaces. So they don't mind doing something indoors, and they can just have someone come and take care of it. It won't be as hard as doing the outdoor stuff. So, and they really want to build a collaboration with the library, so they seem focused on that part.
Do their members like grow these things at home, or do they have a plot that cultivating that they,
Probably a mix of both, right?
Probably,
Because they're probably
yeah.
master gardeners. I'm thinking they have
Yeah.
some stuff
They
themselves.
have like 2 historical places in Guilderland that they take care of the outside gardens.
Oh, nice.
But then these ones they want to donate would be plants that they have, that they've been growing, that they want to donate to us to put in the library. So,
When I worked at Brunswick, we did a garden day and it was like all of the master gardeners in the area and they would come and donate their plants and people would buy their plants. It was a good fundraiser.
Wow.
Instead of a book.
right? Before we get to the cafe space, it is being utilized right now through into the next month, so the book sale, space. How are we doing on the book sale?
So book sales going really well. We're pretty close to capacity in terms of donations. So I think the next time we do a book sale, we don't need to give 6 weeks. We can do 4 weeks or less in terms of accepting donations. Volunteers have been pretty steady. We've had, they're volunteers, so sometimes people forget a shift or something comes up and they can't come. But we've done really well retaining the volunteers we've had, which I'm pretty happy with. We just put out the call for volunteers to do setup and actually work at the book sale. Amy's not here this week, so I don't know what our response has been like yet. But I'll know early next week how many
did
shifts.
she
have been
did she
filled.
email like that?
Did, yeah.
Okay.
Board members didn't get the email because I'm going to be calling upon you all separately. So
Okay.
don't worry, I didn't forget you.
Okay.
The date again is
May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
I wanted to come and help out all the days if I can.
I would love that.
Okay.
So the hours are, so we're looking to do setup during the day on May 2nd. So setup would be like 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. maybe. Then the book sale itself on that May 2nd, that's a Friday, the book sale will be 4 to 8. Then Saturday it would be 10 to 4. Sunday, just normal hours, I think 12 to 4 is what we put down. So had a lot of good feedback from our volunteers, had a lot of good feedback from people dropping off books. Everyone's really excited and happy that we're doing this. It is scheduled, unfortunately, for the same weekend as Schenectady's book sale. And also apparently the YMCA down the road is doing a book sale.
they've had one there. I was in there a few weeks ago. It's not huge, but it's it's mostly sports.
Fair enough. So that could be great for us. People could be like, oh boy, we're gonna make a book sale weekend. We could cannibalize each other's customers. We'll see how it goes.
Never, never gonna be perfect, so.
Nope.
And so then, where are you storing, you're boxing all the books up? They all-
So currently, there's some in the Norman Skill Room. There's some in the back hallway of the library, like in the staff-only area. And then there's also a vacant office that we've converted to storage. We're pretty close to capacity. We haven't done a full inventory, but we're close to bursting at the seams.
Right, and then, in terms of, you're gonna sell a portion of these and a portion you're not, what is the, what is the channel out for everything that's been, not sold?
So if you've noticed, we have a new vendor in the side parking lot, Better World Books, that they're on donation, they take donations. I've worked with them in the past, they actually do bulk pickups, so you can schedule like hey, we just did a book sale, come pick up the remainder. We're gonna try to schedule them for the Monday following the book sale, and then do a pallet pickup on the back loading dock. Some number of the books that are in bad condition will also just recycle, so there'll probably be an additional recycling pickup that week. But, we're hoping to get everything cleared out by the end of the week after the book sale.
Then, interest in the Norman skill, can you elaborate on, seeing?
Yep, so our marketing specialist let me know that we've gotten a slight uptick in people asking questions on social media about if a cafe is coming back, what we're going to use that space for. And then anecdotally, I've done a lot of shifts taking donations, and I've seen an increase of people sticking their heads in and going, oh, didn't this used to be a cafe? I passed along at least one person's feedback to the board last month. So we are just, it's not huge. We're not talking dozens. We're talking a handful of people. But considering we went a long time without getting any questions about the cafe, and now we're seeing an increase. So there is still a community interest in just knowing what the final outcome is going to be for that space.
I think, I saw your, this series, I think the series will happen next. Will start to happen next, because we're, just too occupied with this thing right now.
Sure.
I just think the cafe is, who's gonna do it, it's not like, it's something that you gotta have dedicated operations person running that route, and just think that that's difficult. So other options for that room are welcome.
Yeah, and I think the other thing we're seeing a huge demand for from our community is meeting space and study space. Study space. Yeah, so third places, it's a beautiful room.
Yeah.
And I think if we put tables like this or similar to this in that room and said, hey, this is a meeting space now, people would take advantage of it. People would
I like your idea of using it for a classroom space too, like having it be a multi-function space.
Yeah.
Because if it was just a cafe, then you can't do all these other functions. So if it's a multi-function space, you can do all of that. It can be a meeting space, it can be a classroom space, it can be a study space.
But,
And it's, and it's
multi-function based sort of speaks to me of your facilities guys being really busy setting up tables and chairs, taking them down depending on what's coming in there. It just, and there's a decor aspect too, what makes it interesting, multi-space decor.
Yeah.
But, that's always doable. This could be, you could describe this room as a multi-space just as easily right now.
You sure could.
It's, we got the board in here, we got, and I'm okay if we have the demand for more of this kind of space. We have, what's the other room?
Westbrook.
Yeah, we have that bigger room. We have, we have the really big one, Helderberg, but, that's too big in many cases. And you got, you have to get your call on, with more space of this size, medium size, as opposed to small. This is 3 mediums. Wanderers or a more permanent use we can have for one of these medium sizes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think right now, just being flexible with that space and exploring how we can use it, I think that it's a double-edged sword, right? Because the more we explore how to use that space, we're going to find good information, and people are going to be like, oh, this is a great meeting room. I do think it will, just people who remember the cafe will be like, oh yeah, you're using this for something else now. It used to be a cafe. I think that question will keep popping up.
Yeah, no, but it's, it's going to, so.
Not much we can do about that.
Not much we can do about it, Once again, there is the thought of a coffee vending machine type of operation. We just traded thoughts on that. You do have the water line hookups, and the corner over there, extending those to any place else would be, a lot of money. But I was thinking that little corner where the book sales used to be over in there would be a coffee good space for a coffee and snack type vending thing, if that's, about the right size, sort of out of the way, and people might not worry that, be bothered that much by, the noise that it would make, but it would need to
We
be.
used to have one.
Huh?
We used to have a vending coffee machine before the construction.
Yeah, I know, but that was sort of like back over where the.
Yeah, so the space was a little bit different. There was like kind of a nook by the bathrooms and circ, but yeah, there was a vending machine, that vending machine, and then there was also a coffee one as well.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah.
But we just don't have that space there anymore. We just have the one space for the
Mhm.
machine that's there now, where the ATM is, and, but we don't really have this convenient space for a coffee type of thing.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but we always tell them, bring your coffee.
But, and since we've loosened our restrictions on food and drink at the library, like that's a viable option for
It
folks.
is.
Especially if you're gonna use it as a study space. So if you have just like one coffee thing, they could use it in the studies. Like that would, that's
Yeah,
why people go to
from-
Starbucks.
From the Westbrook movement in this room, is there some, unserved, medium-sized conference space need that you,
I think that as much as we give the community, they will use. Like, I think the demand will grow to meet our capacity. This room is often restricted because we reserve it for library events and board events. If we open up the other room as an option, people will use it. And I think this is also, it dovetails into what we were hearing about the long-range plan, which people are asking for more sitting space, comfy chairs, it all kind of flows together. But Michael, to your point, like flexibility, I think is huge. Like we need to keep the space adaptable so we can do multiple things with it.
It's just hard with that space because at the board meetings, every board trustee has like a different idea about it. So it's just hard, like,
It is.
that's where it's hard to come to like because some of the trustees still want to do a cafe and then the other trustees don't want to. So it's just hard to like,
And we're
and
gonna
you try to explain your side of it and they're like, no, we want a cafe. Like Barbara keeps talking about her friend that wants to do a cafe and like, but the friend is not coming forward. So like, we can't do a cafe. Like you're not like, we need to do something else with the space because nobody's coming forward seriously with the cafe. So, and do we want to go into that whole debacle again? Do we want to,
Is it a can
do
of
it,
worms
do it.
possible?
Yeah. So it's just like,
okay, then, just, springtime is here, I would imagine your facilities crew is
They're
Doing-
looking forward to getting outside.
doing yard work. Anything you report on there?
Nope, nothing new on that front.
Our
Pretty status quo.
facilities team is still cohering together, after that, we had nobody. Sorry, what's the guy's name?
Jason,
Jason.
Yep. Yep.
He's doing good.
he's doing really well. Every time I ask him if he's happy, he says he is, so I believe him. Yeah, no, and the team, yep, we're still fully staffed. We're doing good on that front, so hope to keep that going.
for the farmer's market, is he gonna get the trees that he was talking about and the picnic tables and all that?
We hadn't had any further conversations on that front.
Okay, like he was really like into it. So.
Usually gung ho about it, but I think now that we're committed to a couple of years,
He might like stretch it out.
That project.
gotcha. Yeah, I think that's a conversation we can revisit now that we're locked in for a couple of years.
Okay. Cause they were good ideas. He wanted to put like trees in the parking lot and stuff and like moving that and like, he's like, it's so easy. I'm like, is it really that easy to move a big tree? Like, I don't know.
It was a little, I think it was a little out of the scope on that one.
Yeah. Like, it was a good idea. It just, it was like, it seemed like he wanted too many though. Like, he's like, I want them all over the parking lot. I'm like, how hard is that gonna be to move a heavy tree? Like,
Pretty ambitious.
yeah, like,
Anything else we need to cover?
Do you want to do this?
Yeah, go for it.
So Jason gave us a quote for, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, like paving the overflow lot. And that's the one that's over here, right? That one. Yeah, so it's, I don't know if you ever park over there, but it needs to be, there's like holes and loose gravel and everywhere, so. We got a quote, from L Brow Asphalt Services. It's L.BROWE. And this quote is to proposal to pave overflow lot as follows: to mill any low curbs, high spots, and keyway into roadway, to clean surface free of loose debris and cart material away from location, to machine apply shim leveling course of hot mixed asphalt to fill any depressions and compact into place, to furnish and install 2 inches of type 7 wearing coarse asphalt and compact to a smooth, even surface, to strip lot 2 ADA specification, or excuse me, stripe to specification as currently configured, followed by the final cleanup and removal of any project related debris upon completion of installation. Total cost $44,785.
44,000.
Yeah.
Each, okay.
So I think he's getting multiple quotes. So that was one. Did he just give us the one or did 2 come in?
He gave us another one earlier that I think was just for striping.
Okay, and then it was like, it's a bigger problem.
Yeah, I don't think that was for the overflow lot.
And this was All American Asphalt Services. Yeah, this one was only about 6,000, but again, I don't think it was that entire.
I think it was different, the All-American one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Have there
priced-
been like complaints from the people parking there? Has there been like a steady, like,
Feedback.
Yeah, I think not only staff, but I think a couple of patrons too. And I think it's just like with constant erosion and then the winter and then their
Never gets.
plows.
Right. And, part of it, our parking lot is, like, it does have a particular flow to it that not everyone observes. So I think restriping the main lot was also a priority for our facilities team.
Yeah.
Just to make sure everyone knows where the parking lines are, where the directional lines are, just to kind of keep it safe.
people always go the wrong way in and out, like always, like. they're always like-
To be fair, I don't think it's the most intuitive traffic flow, but
Yeah.
not being able to read the lines probably doesn't help.
Okay, so we're on that,
Mhm.
next meeting.
Yes.
Sort of like, it's a big number, but it's what you would expect if we feel we would need to do that. Do we have any extent, that lot always seems to me to be less full than this lot, where it's fairly full. I don't really ever see that many people in that other lot.
Yeah, it tends to be our patrons prioritize and the staff tend to leave these spaces open for the public.
Yeah.
So this gets filled in first. The top level is mostly staffed during the day, and I think it's because people don't like taking the steps up and
Yeah.
down. They could always walk around, but that's more steps. The far side, again, tends to be preferred by staff in the overflow parking lot, but it's level. So if the public wants to park over there, it's a flat walk to the library. So if we were encouraging people, we'd tell them this would be the first option, that might be the second option, top's probably the third.
Okay, I mean, this is not it's not like a super high risk thing for us. It's not a super high demand thing for us, but at some point in time, like I said, nature's not gonna raise.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not gonna improve.
Every bad winter we get is gonna
Yeah.
make it
Make
worse.
it worse. We can just throw that concept into the board meeting, just say
We're pricing it out.
we're just looking at what that would be, but it's something that needs to be done. There's reasons to say, no, you don't need to do it. There's reasons to say, yeah, do it. It wouldn't break the bank to do it. It would be a prudent thing to do. It would also be a prudent thing, maybe not. to
Could
do.
we apply for a grant for it?
Parking lots are a little,
Okay.
yeah, you
Which is
can't
fair.
really,
Okay.
it's hard to get parking
Okay.
lots approved.
Okay.
Like if there was, like if you were redoing a parking lot because you're putting like a fixture on it, like a facility on it, then you can get it, but it just to redo a parking lot, no, they're not gonna give you a grant for that. You
Okay.
kind of have to get, you have to use like some flowers in the language to get what you want.
I understand. Okay.
You have to massage it.
Okay,
Guild definitely.
Yeah.
all right. Reached our hour. I was trying to get these, like to get these things done. Thanks for everything.
Of course.
Anything else?
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
Meeting adjourned at 6 o'clock. Sure.
First.
Okay. Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter, Bill.